Intro: Hook the Ural Mountains, February 1959. 9 experienced hikers set out on what was meant to be an adventurous winter trek, an expedition through icy winds, frozen peaks, and the wild heart of Soviet Russia. They were young, educated, full of life and ambition. But within weeks, they were all dead. When rescuers finally found their campsite, the scene defied logic. The tent had been slashed open from the inside. The hikers' belongings, boots, coats, food, were untouched. Barefoot footprints trailed into the snow and vanished into the dark forest. Then came the bodies. Half naked, some burned, some with crushed skulls, one missing her tongue and eyes. And radiation, yes, traces of radiation, found on their clothes. The official report? A compelling natural force. But what kind of force leaves such horror behind? This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, a mystery buried beneath snow, silence, and Soviet secrecy. The expedition, the group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. He and 8 others, all skilled mountaineers, set out on January 23, 1959, aiming to reach the remote peak of Mount Otorten. The team: Igor Dyatlov, the calm, disciplined leader; Zina Kolmogorova, energetic, brave, admired by all; Lyudmila Dubinina, strong-willed, outspoken, fiercely loyal; Rustam Slobodin, Nikolai Thibeaux-Brignol, Yuri Doroshenko, Alexander Kolevatov, Yuri Krivonyshenko, and Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest and a war veteran. They were young, healthy, and trained for harsh conditions. Their goal: a 300-kilometer journey through snow and sub-zero temperatures to earn a top-level hiking certification. On January 28, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and turned back, unwittingly saving his life. The remaining 9 pressed on. Their last photos show laughter, exhaustion, and determination, moments before the unknown swallowed them whole. The discovery: when the group failed to send their expected telegram, search parties were dispatched. On February 26, rescuers found the Dyatlov group's tent. It was half buried in snow, cut open from the inside, as if the hikers had slashed their way out in a hurry. Their boots, coats, and gear were still inside. Outside, bare footprints led away into the wilderness. Following the trail, searchers discovered the first 2 bodies under a cedar tree nearly a mile away: Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonyshenko. They were barefoot and half-naked, with burnt hands and legs, as though they'd tried to light a fire in desperation. Nearby, 3 more bodies, Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin, were found lying between the tree and the tent, as if they'd died crawling back to camp. The remaining 4 were missing for 2 more months. When snow finally melted in May, searchers found them in a ravine, buried beneath several feet of ice. That's when the mystery deepened. The first autopsies suggested hypothermia, but then came the anomalies. Rustam Slobodin had a fractured skull, consistent with blunt trauma. Thibeaux-Brignol and Zolotaryov had massive chest fractures, like from a car crash, yet no external wounds. Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her eyes, tongue, and part of her lips. Traces of radiation were found on their clothing. Even stranger, some of the bodies were wearing clothes belonging to others, cut from the dead to survive. Others showed signs of panic, barefoot, half-dressed in -20°C weather. Investigators were baffled. No signs of struggle, no animal attacks, and no evidence of another group. The case report was closed with one cryptic line: the cause of death, a compelling natural force. But no one could define what that force was. The investigation: the Soviet authorities treated the case with secrecy. Files were classified, and witnesses were silenced under state pressure. Locals from the nearby Monsa tribe told investigators the mountain was cursed. They called it Kholat Syakhl, meaning the mountain of the dead. When the hikers' film rolls were developed, the last photos taken were eerie: a glowing light in the sky, blurred figures in the snow, and the group posing before the storm. Were they documenting their fear? Or something they couldn't explain? At night, nearby villagers reported strange orange orbs floating in the sky, sightings that coincided with the night the hikers died. Military presence near the area added fuel to speculation. Rumors spread that secret weapon tests, rocket crashes, or parachute mines could be responsible. The government denied it all. The files were sealed. The truth, frozen with them. Theories over the decades, The Dyatlov Pass incident spawned endless theories, each as chilling as the next. 1. Avalanche theory. The most mainstream explanation is that a small slab avalanche struck their tent, forcing them to flee in panic. But avalanche experts argue that the slope was too shallow, and the tent's position didn't match typical avalanche patterns. 2. Military testing. Some believe the hikers accidentally entered a restricted military zone and were killed by secret Soviet weapons, such as parachute mines or chemical gas. The radiation found on their clothes and reports of glowing orbs seem to support this theory. 3. Infrasound and panic. A scientific explanation suggests strong katabatic winds created low-frequency sound waves, infrasound, that triggered irrational panic, causing the group to flee their tent half-dressed. They succumbed to the elements, not realizing what was happening. 4. UFO or paranormal activity. Strange lights, radiation, and missing body parts led some to believe extraterrestrial involvement. Eyewitness reports of glowing spheres and the mysterious nature of their injuries only deepened the myth. 5. KGB or espionage. A darker theory suggests some hikers, possibly Zolotaryov, were involved in intelligence work. The group may have witnessed something they weren't supposed to, leading to a cover-up and execution staged as an accident. 6. Internal conflict. Some propose that hypothermia-induced madness, known as paradoxical undressing, led to disorientation and violence among the group. But the extreme injuries make this explanation incomplete. Each theory fits one piece of the puzzle, but none explain it all. Modern re-examinations. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, claiming new forensic techniques would end speculation. Their conclusion? Avalanche. They said a rare type of slab avalanche struck their tent, forcing them to flee in panic. The injuries, they claimed, matched the force of compacted snow. But the new findings failed to silence doubt. Survivor Yuri Yudin, before his death, dismissed the avalanche theory completely. He said, "They didn't run from snow. They ran from something else. Something that scared them to death." In 2021, a Swiss research team revisited the avalanche theory using advanced simulation models inspired by frozen snow animation technology. They confirmed that a small, delayed slab avalanche could cause similar injuries, but even then, questions remain. Why was there radiation? Why were the bodies positioned, not scattered? Why did official files vanish for decades? The Dyatlov Pass still guards its secrets. Reflection. A closing today. The site is marked by a simple monument, 9 names carved into stone, standing silent beneath the cold wind of the Urals. The Dyatlov hikers were young dreamers chasing the thrill of nature and endurance. Instead, they became a symbol of fear, of the unknown, of how fragile logic can feel when the evidence itself whispers contradictions. What really happened that night? A storm? A secret weapon? Human panic? Or something beyond explanation? Perhaps we'll never know. Perhaps that mountain was never meant to be understood. Because on Dead Mountain, 9 lights went out in the snow, and the silence that followed has echoed ever since. This is Silent Shrouds, where every answer raises another question, and some stories are never meant to be solved.